Okay, well, thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Jasper Anderluh. I'm one of the 5 founders of Hero. Maybe you know it. It's an investment app. And I would like to talk to you a bit about things that have to do with AI and IT security. For my experience with Hero and also what I'm doing right now. So first, one slide about what this presentation is not about. It was ChatGPT in the title, a risk event. I'm not. I met many IT auditors during my career. I'm certainly not one myself. So I won't talk about AI in IT audit, and they also would not have expected it. Also, I will not talk about the use of AI or ChatGPT in software development. Albeit it's very interesting. It's very interesting nowadays if you use it. I see in my companies nowadays that our developers do use it. And for example, for the simple fact that you are educated in Java or in C++, and now you would like to write something in Kotlin, quite easily you can find all these kind of translations because you know what you would like to build, which is an old language, and it is in this sense comes in very handy, like for many cases. So it could be a separate talk by somebody else. Then of course the question is, why are you here? What is it about? It's about, first, I would like together with you identify the holy grail of the fintech platform, starting from Hero, and then I would like to show you where, at least we think we should head next. And then, of course, as it is about AI, I would like to show you where we're going to use this AI in the actually realization of this holy grail, and what are the consequences of doing so from an then taken this perspective. And I would like to give an example of the standard that we have currently, and also what kind of technical architecture you could use. I would maybe say that normally you should use, but there of course are many ways to implement things, so this is some example what you could use at least to achieve this. Well, first a bit about Hero. We used to work together already for a long time as founders at GOT. It's a market making company that no longer exists, but this market making company actually financed and acquired Bing. So you all know Bing, maybe it's a Dutch broker. We used to work there, the 5 of us, and we started in 2006 for ourselves with a hedge fund. And the hedge fund was an algorithmic trading hedge fund, so we then already algorithms, so we also acquainted with these algorithmic rules that were presented in the previous presentation. But part of this algorithmic hedge fund was that we did many transactions with the hedge fund, and therefore we had very low cost in making transactions on the exchange. So the next step was, well, let's build a broker around it, broker for retail people. So we launched it actually in 2013 with 35 people. We were launched in the Netherlands, so one country. We had 0 clients at the day of the launch, and we had a completely in-house system built. So everything was built ourselves. Nothing was built externally. And we went live on this 23rd of September. It was a complete explosion of events after that, because we had a poll. I just explained to you, we had a poll in the company where it said, well, how many clients will we have at the end of December? And there was one developer, he said 2,500 clients. And he said, he thinks 300, 400, 2,500. Typically a developer who knows nothing about the world, only about code. But in the end, by afternoon, the first day, we had already 1,500 clients. So we were way over this 2,500 clients by the end of the year. There was so much interest in this service, it was really remarkable. So then, of course, we thought, well, you can be the cheapest in a country and get a lot of clients with that, but you can only do it once. If there's already a very cheap one, the next cheapest will have less adventure. So let's go and use actually the new regulations of MiFID, as for financial services of 2007 at the time, that you can use to ideally passport your system all over Europe. So we went live in 18 countries in the next 2 years. And then we had around 150,000 clients at the end of 2015. Then in 2019, we sold it with 650,000 clients among the top 5 of European brokers. And nowadays, if you look at flatexDEGIRO, and acquired a German bank, mainly due to Corona, which was an exceptional increase of number of clients. There are now 2.5 million clients and even a little bit more all over Europe using the Geo app. So there is some database that MySQL database built by Steph and me in the beginning that now contains millions of transactions and billions of assets, which is actually still in use. So it's something I like a lot. If I'm in an airplane or a train, I see somebody using the Geo app, I know how it works in the back end. So yeah, you could say it's quite a success story. It was also quite a tough ride. This is one of the pieces in it, Financieel Dagblad. And you see, of course, going live in 18 countries in 2 years, that's not something a regulator is used to. Also, all of the in-house developments is not something a regulator is used to. And all kind of, when I started the company, I was 28. When we became really big, we were 35, something between 35 and 40. We had a management board of the Geo of 2 people, a couple of shareholders. So actually, with very few people, you were managing a lot of assets, doing a lot of things. But it was quite, for us, also a steep learning curve, where we always want to go faster. And the regulator you see here is a little bit trying to slow us down. And I think in the end, we find a nice place for the Geo to rest at the German bank, where they like procedures and memos and documents and committees. And for us, this was actually also the reason to sell it, because when we sold it, we had 350 people employed, and every decision took 1 hour to think about a new idea and 5 weeks to actually make it into a formal decision. So something we don't like. Well, what happened after that? The guy who was together with me on the rocket, Niels, we decided to move on with our proceeds from the sale and start something new. And of course, what should it be? And the other ones were a bit older, one sort of retiring and just investing on the side. So, well, let's see. What's now a successful online platform? What is a fintech company and what are we looking for? First, in order to scale a business, you need to have it online. And what's an online platform about? All these things that you see around, what are people thinking of? It's always about the cost per client, CPA, how much can I pay to acquire a client? And how much can I make during the lifetime of a client, and how long will the client be in my platform? Get users in, you use marketing automation, all kind of nice emails. You know this, if you had booked a hotel room at booking.com, you get 50,000 emails to get you again to Paris. That's marketing automation. And well, the plan is to build a platform, and without linearly scaling your workforce with your clients, you try to get benefit from the economies of scale. On the other hand, a fintech service is a financial service. Financial service is heavily regulated, so you have to think about target groups. You have to think about your KYC, now your client, AML. You all see these items in the newspapers all the time about AML violations. You have rules of how to conduct your business, as we have learned at Geo. All kind of things that are in financial services. There's one common denominator between this, and that's privacy nowadays. Privacy is actually something that also for these online platforms maybe completely not falling under the rules of the financial regulator. Still, privacy, and you will see this increasing all the rules around privacy to regulate these platforms as well. So there we have to take care of, and of course in our AI, as we'll see later in the talk, privacy is an important part. Well, now what's the Holy Grail? If we make a diagram, a simple diagram of the number of potential users and the engagement of the user in your platform, you have some services that have a huge number of potential users. I have here the example Lieflandbank, because it's just simple savings proposition. Simpler than that, you don't get it. You just put in your money, you get interest, and you can take it when you need it. That's it. It's very many users can use. Everybody who wants to save and wants to have a little bit higher interest rate could go there. But the user engagement is not much, because it's not that you all the time log into your savings account and see how much you have on your savings account. Certainly not such a thing that's outside of your daily financial operations. So maybe you log in once a year, and nowadays the tax authorities have automated the connections with the banks. So maybe you don't even log in once a year. You only need to log in when you need. So it's a platform that has a user, but the user is doing nothing. Then you have the Giro, really interesting, because once you have investments in your platform, you start logging in all the time. How did it today? Maybe I buy something extra or not. So you have a lot of user engagement. But the problem of the Giro is actually
that the number of potential users is limited, because many people don't like doing investments themselves. They think it's boring, things about stocks, or they don't understand it. Then half of the people actually don't have the money to save to do investments. So your target group is rather small. So as we are now at fintechs to Hero with 2.5 million European clients, you can maybe still double once, but then I think there are no clients anymore, because you will never have 100% market share. So we're looking for the holy grail, and that's there. We would like to have high user engagements, and we would like to have a lot of potential users. That's the direction you see the fintech market move into. So, well, what should we have to achieve this holy grail? First, you would like to have an easy onboarding flow, because you would like to onboard users easily. Well, this, of course, is sort of competing with being compliant. Being compliant is also competing with being cost-savvy, because when fintechs to Hero took us over to Hero, they said, well, fintechs took us over from Germany, they said, we stay in the Netherlands because we like the Dutch interpretation of the onboarding flow. Because in Germany, we need to have a video with some people being live recordings, and we have to manually see for every client whether he's alive or not. Well, that is really cost-intensive. So you need to have this. You also would like to have an automated business process, because you're not able to get more employees in your company if your clients grow. That the whole plan of scale up is that everything is automated. So typically that's at the Hero where we developed our own systems. So it's not that the process follows the system, but the system is built according to the process. And of course, although you try to target millions of users, you would like to give them a personal experience. So you need personalized product offering. The product should also be a good product, as we say. It should be a fair, explainable, good product, and it should be personalized or maybe relevant, whatever you call it. It should be something that you really can use, because not only to generate growth, of course, it's important, but also retention. If you look at a CFD broker like S&P 500 or IG Markets, the average lifetime of a client is less than a year. Then the client has lost all his money because of the high leverage. The retention rate of the Hero is 95% after 5 years. That's a huge difference. So the fact that your product is quite good, it means that you also can, once you have a client on board, he will stay with you, so you can also invest in your client in the beginning. And the setup is very important. If you are a fintech, if you have the wrong regulatory setup, so if you take a license that's too heavy for what you want, or if you take the wrong geographical setup, then you will be beaten by competition. And the friends at Bink, they had a banking setup as a broker, and in every country they want to go live, they had to go in there with an office, they had to have talks with the local regulator. So for them to open a new office in Belgium or in Italy, it was around 4 or 5 million in expenses for every country. At the Hero, we had just passporting of services out of the Netherlands. We had a hub in Bulgaria in which we did not offer services, so we didn't anything to do with the regulator. For us, a new country was 200,000 euros. So if you would like to go live in 18 countries, you can't compete with your 5 million per country model. So all these things are important. And now the last one, because I think this is the most important one, and that's actually the team. The people that are building, certainly if you are so small, that you are building the service to your client, they should all be dedicated, all have their own role. And the people at the service desk of the Hero that we always had in-house, they immediately felt from outside if something with the system was wrong. They had direct access to the IT development team and to the operations team to resolve things, and everybody wants to bring the service to the clients, which meant that on Brexit, all brokers were down because of the heavy load. The Hero was not down because everybody was already preparing for a week. We had redundant systems. Everybody was in the office at 6 in the morning. So maybe not everything on the paper trail, but the people were there to support the clients. So, and I think that's what has actually made a success. It was the team of people working together. So that's really important if we do now new investments, what team is behind it. Well, where does AI come into the picture? If we would like to have a cost-savvy onboarding flow, we need some AI. And of course, not maybe the most deep learning system, but just some simple things to optimize the onboarding flow. If you would like to have efficient and automated business processes, the same, you need to do all kinds of things automatically. And where the most models come in, if you would like to offer personalized services. And I will show you later how we do this. Well, then the Holy Grail again, but now with some more comments to it. What has many potential users in the fintech space? That is everything that has to do with payments or purchases, because that you're doing all day. When you came here, you bought maybe a train ticket or a coffee or something, you did the payment. So what kind of, more people have seen this, so what developments do you see? You see a lot of these neobanks, like in the Netherlands we know Bunk, but you have N26 or Revolut, a new place for a bank, and banks that only have apps and now offices try to get into this payment flow. You see PSD2 licensed companies, so that's account information services. Maybe you do know Dime or Peaks in the Netherlands. Those are things that also tap into your daily activity on your bank account. The things that is called relevant reach. Those are companies that try to analyze that data to give you the right offers. So if I can see that you are the one who is always doing some home construction work in the weekend because you go to Hornbach every Friday, then a nice offer or a nice drilling machine, you might get early out of bed for that. But if I give you an offer for a can of dog food and you hate animals, then you will be annoyed by the app. So it's really important to have relevant information going to your clients. So what kind of things now in this Holy Grail activities will contribute to these goals? First, your bank transaction categorization for budgeting features. That's something that is interesting for clients. And you use AI for that, because you get all bank transactions of your clients, you get in, you try to analyze them and find out, is this spent on house, insurance, entertainment, leisure, food, restaurant and bars, and so on. You can analyze bank transactions to see if you're credit worthy or not. We can see what's your salary, what is your spending behavior. We can also see from bank transactions what kind of services would be interesting to you. If I see that you go to the pet shop online all the time, then you might have an animal at home. Maybe that's a service you are interested in. Or if I see that you have a car insurance, then probably that you have a car. So maybe you go in for a deal on fuel. We can see if we have subscriptions. You have a question? Yeah. Well, I'll come back to that later. But of course, all of these that you gradually get a little bit uncomfortable. See that you have subscriptions. We can do transactions analysis for loyalty. You come to the HEMA. I give you a little bit of extra discount if you come once again, and see if you are a returning customer or not. And we can do transaction analysis for market segmentation.
Short question is maybe how do you get this spent information?
Yeah, I get this as well. So here is the setup that we are in now. So my partner Niels and I, and of course a couple of people that are now in the companies we have. We invest our money in a couple of companies. And what are we doing? We are building an overarching platform that's bringing you an app to you as a user, and the app uses all kinds of services. One of the financially regulated services is Budget Bakers. It's a company located in the Czech Republic, and they have a license to do a PSD2 account information system. So if you as a user, and there's where privacy comes in, if you as a user allows us to see your bank transactions, they have the right license to connect to the bank and retrieve your transactions. And then the transactions will be in our system. And based on these transactions, you will get discounts, because we have a deal with HEMA, for example. If you use our app to do this, and we recognize a bank transaction for you for payment at HEMA, you get 1% discount. We put it in a discount for you. That makes clients interested in collecting bank accounts. We also acquired another company, it's called Scoopy, and there you scan your receipt. So you go to Albert Heijn, and then you buy Heinz tomato ketchup 50%. And Heinz wants to promote its tomato ketchup. Thus they say, if you send in your receipt, we will repay you the amount of the tomato ketchup. So you start sending in the receipt. So what we have in that company as data, we have a lot of receipts, OCR receipts, that we can analyze. And on those receipts, we do product recognition, brand recognition, category recognition. So we know now you like to drink beer. We know now that you don't like drink coffee, you drink more tea. All these kind of things. We start gathering about you. All, of course, based on your consent. And all with only one reason, that's actually to give you better offers in the user-facing app.
Are you telling the whole story then to the client, what they will share
Yes.
information? Because it can be that person thinks it's very, targeted to a certain transaction, but actually you're retrieving a lot of more information from the receipt.
Yeah, it's stated there that you in the privacy statement and the explicit consents, because we really explicit about it. And of course, the whole plan is these data only stays in this environment, and the whole plan, of course, is what we can do, because we know that if we give you an offer to the right person, then the company making the offer is willing to make better offers for our clients. Yeah.
I have a question because many of the companies you just mentioned have their own loyalty cards, but it's not based on the loyalty card.
No, it's next to. Yeah.
But wouldn't it be easier, for example, with the Albert Heijn has their bonus card? There's an email registered, they register what you buy, they make you offers through that instead of.
No. Because if you are Heinz and you would like to promote your tomato ketchup, I have to pay Albert Heijn to be on this front shelf, and a lot of money. And now they can skip the Albert Heijn, they can go directly to you and say, you buy at Albert Heijn, but I don't care about Albert Heijn, I pay you back the Heinz tomato ketchup. So it's for the producers who can actually skip the middleman to reach the end consumers.
Yeah, but I mean, now I would have to send a receipt to you, right?
Yeah, you scan it with your mobile phone.
Yeah, okay. But I also say just attach to my bonus card and then you have every information for all things.
Yeah, but that's something Albert Heijn we can do it. But if we really build this, Albert Heijn will not allow for that, because they don't like it. They also don't like these receipts. So you see, if you now go to Albert Heijn cash desk, they try not to give you a receipt. Yeah, so it's so of course you can have privacy things about this. The whole idea is that it's very transparent what you give up, and also very transparent what you get back, and also the promise that Woolsocks and these companies will never share this data with third parties. So it's not for resale to anybody else. So now, indeed, as you already have seen, what's the risk? I mean, you can do a complete risk analysis of all kinds of risks. There is only one big risk, is personal data leakage. Because you're willing to connect your bank account to get some discounts. We see that half of the people who sign up are willing to connect a bank account. But of course, it comes with trust. And only if you have a personal data leakage, your trust will be gone. That's the biggest risk. So that you have to think of. And then it becomes, with these AI models, it becomes a bit more difficult. Because without AI models, I have personal data, I have a database, I encrypt the database, and that's it. For example, and then you already feel very safe. But now you have AI models. These models are also somewhere trained. Maybe you have a special environment, Databricks or whatever, where you train them. And where is then the data that's used for training? Is that living in some other place that you don't see, where you also can get a data leak? So you should be very careful if you look at an AI model. If it's trained, where is the data stored? Preferably, you keep it encrypted in your own database and you let that tool use it directly from the database and decrypt it only in memory and not have some in-between storage, because then you get all kinds of versions of your personal data decrypted, which is terrible. The other thing is also very interesting. If I have one receipt and I give it to you, it's not personal data. You see a receipt, there's no name on it, it's just a date and a time, and it's Albert Heijn and you bought a salad and a sandwich roll. But if I give you a lot of receipts, with AI, you can detect the pattern, and then you can find me. You can know who I am. And therefore, if AI models are involved, as an IT risk auditor, you should think of, wait, I have a simple data classification of the data as itself. So a receipt is a receipt from Albert Heijn is non-personal. But if I think one step further, it will be personal data, because it is not coming in its own, it's coming as a whole batch. So that is very important. Another risk that you have in these kind of things is already lower than D risk, than the personal data leakage risk, is that you are going to train it on the biased data, presumably, and you might have unfair treatment. We have not unfair treatment, but what we have seen when we were this transaction classification in the beginning, we trained it on the existing transactions, and by nature, you have way more spendings, small spendings. You have coffees, you go to a bar, these kind of things, spendings around 10 euros, 15 euros. So the model is really trained into that area. So if you throw in a completely unknown transaction to the model, in order to optimize its probability of being right, it puts it in the bucket of which you have the most training data. So when somebody made a purchase of 20,000 euros for new furniture, it was classified as restaurant and bars, which of course is stupid. So there you see that AI models are not always correct, and that is very based on the training data set. That's really, really important. So you have to correct for that, or make the model even smarter, or put some non-machine learning stuff in front and say, well, if you are in a bar and a cafe, you're never more than 500 euros, something like that, and then at least you exclude the stupid mistakes. Now, how to organize now that all this is quite secure, because that's something you really start to think of if you have these kind of data in your database. And because if you have a couple of 100,000 users in your app, you have millions and millions and millions of bank transactions. So you need to try to make it very secure. So nowadays, typically on this scale of users, if you build an online platform, you build it in a microservice architecture. So you have different microservices. All these microservices live in the back end of your system, and they have their own database. And then that database is used by the microservices only. So there's no direct access of somebody from back office into the database. No, all access to this data in the database is through API calls in the front end. So you have an internal portal for back office. You have just API calls for your app, and you have API calls for your CRM system. So everything is passed to that microservice. So this microservice is completely in charge of the database, not that somebody else can log in and so on. You need, of course, data to make analysis. If I would like to send you an email to offer you new dog food, and I see that you, you're a dog lover, then I should somewhere have my data, this kind of data, in a data warehouse, and I propagate it usually to some event bus, like Kafka events, and then propagate it into a data warehouse like Google BigQuery. But then I should be very careful in the data warehouse, because that's way more open in the database at the end, that I can't see that your email address is connected to that you are a dog lover. It should be all sort of anonymized in the data warehouse. The same for logs. Logs are also propagated outside of this field, so that if you do troubleshooting, you can read these logs. Which means that in the end, you can put a big log on your production environment, that all your developers, nobody actually needs to be in that environment. Nobody needs to have access to those databases. Well, a couple of other things you should do. You should, this data in the database as well, and in the data warehouse, should be encrypted. So also in this log backend, you encrypt the data in the database. And if you do it in an easy way, actually, that's at least the plan that we had with this, you have an encryption that's per user has a different key. And that's really nice, because if a user says, now I would like to execute my right to be forgotten, and you have this privacy right that you say, erase all my data, you don't need to go everywhere and erase the data. No, you just erase the encryption key and you can never access it anymore. So that's a good practice. The database. Yes?
Als je die data sleutel, met die persoonlijke sleutel, kan je daar nog wel andere analyses op doen. Want je hebt dan die data ook nodig. Als je een persoonlijke sleutel niet hebt, kan je daar een andere analyses op doen. Bijvoorbeeld het voorbeeld van een scannen van bijvoorbeeld het
Bonnetje? Ja.
bonnetje. Ja, als de user een sleutel heeft, en jij wil een bonnetje bekijken, het worden van het einde de range of the catch.
So somebody says if you would throw away the user-specific encryption key, we can't read it anymore. But it also means if you say I would like to be forgotten or erase my data, you won't get any discounts anymore. You just exclude it from the program. So you only get, of course, discounts, and you are part of our program if you have an account and if you are a user. If you say I would like to be no user and just get my data, then your data is your data. So then we can't read it anymore. We can also not use it for general analysis. Because I think that's what the right to be forgotten means. It doesn't mean that the right to be forgotten is I tell you I don't use it and I still use it. Also important is this part. It's the rotating secrets. So you should have a system in place that you issue special database passwords that rotate every period. In our case, it's 15 minutes. So there is not one user account with one password that you log into when you run a database. Now you have systems that for you create these kind of secrets every 15 minutes, and they put it into your microservice directly. So that means that you can have this log production environment. Yeah, I have some technical things about this. But yeah, no developer access, that's important, and you can do this by deploying your program code, really, or your compiled programs. You have them in another environment, usually called acceptance. There the developers can enter it and can see it. Once that's been approved and done, it is moved to production and cannot be touched there anymore unless you upload a new thing from the other environment. This, I must say, is now, I can really easily say this because we all built everything from scratch now the last 2 years. If you do it from the beginning, it's easy. If you don't have it like this, and you would like to have it 10 years later, it's a nightmare. So, well, to conclude a bit, if you are a modern holy grail platform that you try to pursue, like all these modern apps, by definition, you have a lot of data and also a lot of personal data. Typically, you also will use this AI somewhere in the platform to do some functions. Can be more or less advanced, but maybe that's even not so special. And what you also will see, typically, it's not teams of thousands of people. Yeah, maybe in Google but not the new startup things. It's a small team, hands-on and well-motivated. And of course, that also comes with some risk because many modern holy grail platforms also use other service providers to do part of the game, which means that your data can be distributed over different systems. The idea is that maybe that you think in this subsystem, my data is not personal, but like I said before, AI can detect patterns making data personal, because as soon as I can see that, hey, this person is every time at 12:15 at Albert Heijn buying a salad at Zuidas, then I can identify him. Good question. So how to avoid discrimination based on financial position? It's a bit, I'm not sure what you mean by this, but what...
People who are poor,
Yeah.
they have less money. If they have less money, they could be receiving less, how do you call it, kortingen, discounts. So in that way, you have a discrimination based on financial position.
It might be the case because it might not be intentionally directly, but it can be, of course, that, I don't know, only rich people have very expensive dogs. So only these dogs people will then get only the dog food thing.
But is this a thing that regulators are...
Yeah, I think, but it has to do with something with core services. If you issue, this is not a core service. In that sense, but indeed, it will. Also we will use it because we have also some way of getting gift cards that you can use in the store and pay in 30 days. So buy now, pay later type of thing. And before we give you 100 euros that you can pay later, we first check on your bank account if you can spend it. Otherwise, yeah, that's a risk model for credit, of course. Maybe because this is the last slide, so maybe I complete this, and then we can go to the questions. So the trading of the data that's used for trading of the models is very important, and this I think is even more important. You have this hands-on small team that wants to change things and wants to bring new features and wants also to solve stuff, that's conflicting with your locked production environment and all kind of procedures around that. So that's also something to be very aware of. And it's also a balancing act, because if you make everything completely tight and you can't do anything, then you will not succeed as well. But if you have many data leaks because of your team is all hacking everything together, you also have many data leaks, and that's bring your app also. So you have that's a difficult thing, I think, for entrepreneurs, but also for auditors, how to find a good balance in it. Yeah, and that's what I would like to conclude.
Are there questions? Yes. Goed voor mijn stappen tellen.
Yeah. If you just very loud and.
Can you maybe also give a little bit of view on the AI Act that is coming and what your opinion is? Because it will definitely impact businesses that you invest in. Is that a topic that you already work on? Do you see risks there, problems?
Yeah, I think the main thing that for us is important, and we believe in that as well, is to be fully transparent about your algorithms, about also this, for example, this discrimination thing. Instead of doing it somewhere in the background, just be clear on it. We use these models. We know your profile, so know if you connect your bank account. Yes, you get discounts, but also yes, we will know then that you pay this and this for your house. We know these kind of things. So I think transparency is something. It will take some time. It was ideally what we would like to do, but that takes a lot of time. Is that you say, we use these models, and now this is what we know about you. Are you still comfortable with it? Because you can say that stupid people will then be turned down by it. But I also think if they're not turned down by it, you also can never do anything wrong anymore for them. So I think that's something that I like that about the transparency part. It's really important, and I like also to live up to that a lot. But I think that will bring in the end, it will bring for everybody clear view. Okay, because now if you don't do it like that, it's some magic happens, and afterwards you are really disappointed or you feel betrayed or whatever. So you should know before what are these models actually doing, and indeed you share a lot of data, and if you combine it, then this is what you get.
Quick question. I think data is integral in this holy grail situation in that sense. How do you feel about big tech companies that have been gathering data and looking for a way to exploit it in a holy grail fashion? Is that the same as you do? So
I think it's really, I think it's a bit different because the whole idea here is that you have this data, but this data will never leave our system. So we don't sell it to anybody. The only thing that we sell to somebody is, hey, for you, you have products for people who are over the age of 50. For you, we can make sure that it's offered only to these people at the age of 50. But you don't get our data, nothing. We keep it in here and use it for that.
Yeah, but Google does the same. We sell you an advertisement for the right kind of person because we know that person based on the data we have.
Yes.
Do you see any new products in that sense, getting from that data warehouse?
Yeah, but because we have way more, because your bank transactions, we can have deals like, hey, you have been at Hornbach already not for 3 months. We see this before you came. Now I give you a 10% discount for your next visit. These kind of things Google can't see. And the big difference is this is also for offline stores. Because you make a payment with your card in an offline store. Google is only for online stores. That is a big difference. And that's what the retailers are actually really interested in. To have these attraction to the offline store. Even more we try to do, and this only works in the Netherlands, because the Netherlands has by far the best bank transactions. But you also would like to say, I give you a more discount in my restaurant if you are between 5 and 7, because then I'm never fully booked and would like to attract customers there. If you pay after 7, you get a lower discount. In the Netherlands we can do this. In Spain and Germany, the bank transactions are not rich enough to see this exact time. But these kind of things, so you are a sort of Google thing, but then also for the offline market, which is still way bigger than the online market.
Then in Spain you cannot enter the restaurant.
Yeah, so for the rest of it.
Hi, I have a short question. It's more about if you are get prepared and if you can share a little bit some insight regarding the DORA Resilience Act, which is from a regulator that impact all the financial institutions or financial licenses, which will take place the 1st of January 2024.
But for financial institutions, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are not. Because if we have learned one thing from the Giro, try not to be a financial institution. Because remember the rocket and the weight, we would like to get rid of the weight.
So how do you place the Giro if it's not a financial institution?
I'm not, it's not about the Giro. I'm not the owner of the Giro anymore.
Okay. So okay, now it's different discussion in a certain sense. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Question, Errol? Last one.
You said you are not in the financial governance, but you use the PSD2 data.
Yeah,
so how is that possible then?
I had to go back. These guys do have a financial license indeed, only budget bakers. So what we tried now to do is to compartmentalize everything. So instead of making one big company, we bought a couple of companies and leave them on their own. And then the users give a consent that this data can be used by those. So only this one is financially regulated, but it's a separate company with own management, and they certainly will prepare for this next DORA thing.
Okay. Jasper, thank you for the presentation. I understand you start with a fintech from the financial environment, but you end in another environment because all the criteria you had to do to focus on. And you are a real businessman. You go further when you sell your first company. The first company you start with a lower cost for the people, and now you sell discount. I understand.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Thank you very much. A little present for you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for having me here. I did.